It was the year 1990. A young woman named Enola boarded the train around 11:30 p.m. after finishing her night shift at the office. The late hour meant most of the train's carriages were completely empty. Enola found herself alone in her carriage, which was just how she liked it. She settled into her seat and began to read a book, losing herself in the pages. At the next stop, the carriage door slid open and 3 new passengers boarded, 2 men and a woman. They walked down the aisle and sat directly across from Enola. She glanced up briefly but paid them little attention, returning to her book. The 2 men flanked the woman, who sat in the middle. Enola could feel the woman's gaze on her, an unnerving sensation that made her skin prickle. She raised her head slightly, trying to get a better look at the woman. However, the woman's face was mostly obscured by a headscarf, her eyes hidden in shadow. Still, Enola couldn't shake the feeling that the woman was staring intently at her. The train continued its journey, stopping again to let another passenger aboard. This time, a middle-aged man entered the carriage. He made his way down the aisle and, surprisingly, sat down next to Enola. She found it odd but decided to ignore him and continue reading. After a few moments, the man leaned close to Enola and whispered urgently in her ear, "I know this is weird, but you have to trust me. You need to get off at the next stop or these will be your last few minutes." Enola's heart pounded in her chest. She was filled with anxiety but also a sense of survival. The man's tone was serious, and despite her fear, she decided to follow his advice. She didn't dare ask for help from the trio sitting across from her. Something about them felt off. When the train arrived at the next station, Enola and the man quickly disembarked. The cold night air hit her face, and she felt a mix of relief and confusion. Watching the train pull away, she turned to the man and demanded an explanation. "Why did you make me get off the train? What's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. The man took a deep breath, his face pale under the station lights. "Thank God you listened," he said. "I'm a doctor. What you don't know is that the woman sitting in front of you was not alive. She was a corpse. The 2 men were using her as bait to lure you in. If you had stayed on that train, they would have killed you." Enola's blood ran cold as she processed his words. "A corpse?" she repeated, her voice barely a whisper. The man nodded. "Yes, they were holding her upright to make her appear alive. I noticed them when they boarded. I've seen such things before in my line of work. They would have used the distraction to stab you. You were their next victim." Enola felt faint, her legs trembling beneath her. The reality of how close she had come to death hit her like a wave. She looked at the man, her unexpected savior, with a mixture of fear and gratitude. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice breaking. "You saved my life." The man nodded solemnly. "You're safe now. Let's get you to the authorities. They need to know about this." As they walked together toward the station exit, Enola couldn't help but glance back at the tracks where the train had disappeared. The darkness seemed to whisper secrets, and she knew she would never forget the night she narrowly escaped death on the midnight train.